You ask any doctor, even before the patient enters, file padi hai haath mein mere. In 30 seconds, I know what I'm going to do.
I agree.
30 seconds में मुझे पता है इसका मुझे क्या करना है. But still we talk to them for 30 minutes. So that's, if you don't do that, and then you can convince them what's right, what's wrong, and find a middle way out. But if you don't listen to them, it doesn't work. So I think that works. And I don't know, that hit me very hard. Kabhi, you know, and you were seeing so much of death around.
There.
Yeah, and you were seeing so much of death around, and I mean, it still gets me goosebumps. But so I went in the night and I was just not able to sleep, and I was like, and then I don't know what happened, and I thought, okay, let's make a video of how do you check an SPO to monitor in your house, you know. So then Instagram said, okay, tell us how I can help you. They said, you need to put 3 reels a day. I said, are you mad? I said, I don't know how to edit. That was just something that I did.
MedTalks presents Scrubbing In, stories that make a doctor.
Hi, Dr. Yuvraj. Welcome to MedTalks Presents Scrubbing In.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Lovely to have you here. So, how many years in Vadodara now?
Not really long. Baroda is, I think, 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
And why did you choose Vadodara? See, I mean, I've seen doctors going to bigger
Correct.
cities.
Correct.
Move to a tier 2 city to set up your practice. So,
You know, actually, I really don't have an answer to it. It was just one day when I decided to do a private practice, me and one of my best friends, we were on a drive and we saw a building and we were like, you know, I think it's time for us to now quit our job. We've done enough for someone else. And that's the same story, you know, sabki wo rone ki kahani jahan pe you're in a job and you're not being valued or whatever you feel, right or
कितने
wrong.
मिल रहा है?
Haan, whatever. So we decided, and then the question was, of course, everyone said go to Ahmedabad. You're right. But I don't know, I somehow felt that I think Baroda is great. It was not a very big city for me. It was not a very small city for me. I had been around this area and I have seen, like, you know, in fact, before I started my practice, I knew of a thing where, you know, if your work is good, especially in our field, it really doesn't matter, you know. People travel to cities to get treatments. And I remember joking, and when someone in my family was saying that, you know, you should start in Ahmedabad, I said, no, the Ahmedabad people will come to Baroda one day. And touch wood, things have been great.
Superb. So that's amazing. I mean, that's a good decision, I would say.
Yeah, I really think place really doesn't matter.
Is irrelevant.
Yeah, because you can always grow, na? I mean, I started off with Baroda, and within a year I had a hospital in Ahmedabad. You can always make a branch, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, sometimes you can also think the opposite. When you're in a smaller town or a smaller city, if your work is good, your progress might be much faster. You know, it's like
Agreed.
you can be like the king in a small town rather than a frog in a big ocean. You know, yeah. So
Absolutely. So, what were your learnings in those first 4 years? Anything that surprised you, or how did it just start?
yeah, I think my greatest thing that I have realized is only 2 things matter. You know, one is, yes, your work, and it is a cliche, but it's the absolute truth.
Yes.
You know, one, if your work is not good, you cannot do anything else, and you cannot progress. And I think the second thing is, I also feel very important is, you know, your approach. You cannot be a rigid doctor. You cannot be a short-tempered doctor, at least in this world. You know, you need to be patient, you need to listen, and you need to respect sometimes if a patient is making a choice.
Right.
You know, and I think when you listen to patients, most of the times patients who come to me very initially, abhi to theek hai, we have a good name and everything. When I was very new, I think the most important patients that converted and started taking treatments from me, and you know, when I used to realize from a file that, oh, this patient has gone to an XYZ doctor who's so senior and who's been so famous, why have they chosen me? I realized because I feel they thought they were being heard, you know. So never try to force your treatment plan on something until unless you are very convinced that they are wrong. So I think that is something I listen, you know, because ek baat, you know, I'll tell you something. You ask any doctor, even before the patient enters, file padi hai haath mein mere. In 30 seconds, I know what I'm going to do.
I agree.
30 seconds में मुझे पता है इसका मुझे क्या करना है, but still we talk to them for 30 minutes.
Right.
So that's, if you don't do that, and then you can convince them what's right, what's wrong, and find a middle way out. But if you don't listen to them, it doesn't work. So I think that works.
Patient-centric approach mainly. But our infrastructure is not what helps. It's, I think,
Not
the way
at all.
you talk to them, you make them feel heard.
Not at all. If infrastructures used to, if infrastructure was something that could give you success, then, you know, today big multinational, multi-speciality hospitals are struggling
Correct.
to get patients. In fact, individual clinics are doing so much more better. So when you say infrastructure, of course, having the best technology and the best treatment is important.
Right.
But just because you have a 7-story building or you have a room which is 8,000 square feet doesn't help. It really doesn't help. In fact, I feel, especially in my branch, women health, delivery, obstetrics, labor, infertility, I think the more cozy, the more homely, the more non-hospital vibe that you give a patient, that will put them at ease. I do agree you need to make your setup a little, you need to give a thought.
Yes.
For me, it was very important. You know, you can't just create a building. That's important to me, whether you believe it or not. But for me, it was very important that I didn't want a patient to come and feel intimidated in a hospital.
Right.
You know, when you come, wahi iron ki chairs, you know, white walls, the smell of a Savlon, didn't want that. So that, yes, but otherwise infrastructure is not what is important. I mean, we all know of doctors who, like, इतनी छोटी cabin में 100 patients देख रहे हैं.
Right.
Why? And we know of big hospitals जहाँ पे दिन के 10 patient भी नहीं आ रहे.
Correct. So then what else did you do? I mean, chalo aapka, of course, the know-how is there. You have a patient-centric approach. What were the other factors that helped you establish your?
You know, my entry into Baroda was very parallel to when second wave of COVID was hitting.
Okay.
And it was not a strategic move, but it was a need of the hour because I had left my job. Second wave of COVID was very bad for the country. The banks were closed, and I had a certain amount of saving. And suddenly, my hospital is being constructed. Halfway through, it stops, and the loans were not being passed because the banks were not working. No one was going,
Right.
and I was in a fit, and you know, I had to run a house. And IVF, in fact, IVF had stopped because IVF is a what we call as a selective procedure. वो एक emergency procedure नहीं है.
Exactly.
और उस time पे, because the beds were less, the government had asked you to stop all selective surgeries and procedures. Oxygen was not there, so you
Yes.
couldn't use something which is not urgent. So IVF had stopped. So then, how do I earn? You know, like how do I continue? Because all the money that I was saving was going into the construction part. So I realized that there were not many doctors in Baroda who were doing COVID pregnancy deliveries, apart from the
Acha.
government hospitals.
Haan.
There were no private hospitals who were doing it,
Yes.
except for one doctor. And I said, but that is the need of the hour. Like, you know, that is something that I can. And I was not scared of working with COVID. I mean, everyone was working. I'm like,
Yeah.
when I told my parents, they're like, are you sure it's COVID? What if something? I said, the doctors around the world
entire
are working.
fraternity is working,
Correct. I
otherwise.
do have an option. There were a lot of doctors who chose not to work at that time, which is fair enough. But I said, I don't have an option. So I partnered with a hospital and I said, you know, give me a floor and we'll create a private setup for cesareans and vaginal births and only pregnant women who are suffering from COVID and who need treatment.
Brilliant.
And somehow that got me a lot of goodwill
Right.
because suddenly there were only 2 doctors in the city who were treating COVID pregnant patients. So the name started. So as I said, I had no background, no family, no friends. I didn't even have a professional background here. So the name started spreading that, oh, there's this young guy I had 5 years of experience post passing, and he is taking care. And then the first initial few cases, which were very bad, got cured and we delivered and they were discharged. So those jo jinke patients the, they had sent to me and they started saying that, oh, you know, like you sent to Yuvraj and he is good and he'll take care. My patient survived. So then we started treating COVID women. So that 3-4 months,
The word of mouth worked.
yeah. So that was one thing that pushed me, and simultaneously for me, at that time, somehow social media also gave me a push. Uh, that is a whole different journey, but yeah. And I think those were the two things that kind of helped me kickstart my practice.
So I think you figured out that where you really have to focus on, because it was
Yeah.
the timing was not
Yeah.
perfectly correct,
Yeah,
but at the same time you sort of found a way
yeah.
to positively impact. So then how did the social media angle happen? Like how you said it's a different story, so let's look into that as well. Like what
Yeah.
what
So that
inclined you? I mean, I know the younger generation doctors are quite active.
no, but not at that time. 2019,
2021.
20, whatever it was. You see, there were not a lot of doctors who were doing so. In fact, doctors on social media boomed after COVID.
COVID, yes.
So I had what 2,000 followers, which were like time pass,
We were like
Instagram, friends and all that.
acquaintances and all, yeah.
And I remember, as I said, we were treating COVID pregnant women, and I had this patient who called me from Surat that there's no space here and we are not getting a space, because they, as I said, the word of mouth spread so much that we used to start getting calls from Ahmedabad, from Surat, from Vapi, that my wife is pregnant and she's being diagnosed with COVID. We don't have space. Will you take care? Can I come? She might go into labor. We want to do a C-section, whatever.
Right.
So I got a call from Surat and I said, is she stable? And they said, yes, she just has some fever. I said, please get her checked there. If she's healthy enough to travel. They said, we've made all the arrangements, the ambulance is there, this, that. So, of course, we asked for initial history, and I said, what's her... So, us time pe hum SpO2 oxygen levels check karte the. Everyone knows that now. So and they showed me the SpO2 and they said, look, it's 96, 97. I said, fair enough. Everything else was okay. Somehow the call came and I said, okay, we have a space for a bed, but I don't know, like, when are you coming? Because it was just one day we had 2, 3, 4 beds empty, and in 2 hours we had all full.
Yes.
So they said, we'll reach in few hours. And then somehow they didn't turn up, and I was of course busy, and we were all in the PP kits and phones were not with us, and whatever happened. The next day they called again. They said, now we are coming. I said, okay, but I don't have space now, because you were going to come yesterday. We waited for you for a few hours. I don't have space. They were like, we have to come, and I think she's going to deliver, and the gynecologists are not taking care here. To cut the long story short, then I had a chat at Gotri Hospital, which is a government hospital in Baroda. I said, please take care of her for at least a day till I knew one of my patients could be discharged. They said, okay. And they managed, and 24, 48 hours later, of course, I called Gotri to ask what happened with the patient. And unfortunately, she had passed off.
Oh my God.
And the kid had, of course, didn't survive. She didn't survive. And then I came to know what had happened is, while they were traveling, and by the time she reached here, she was still on oxygen, but her oxygen levels kept deteriorating. So a doctor there told me that their SpO2 monitor was not working.
Oh God.
So maybe it was showing 95, but it would have not been 95 because she was very compromised when she came here. And I don't know, that hit me very hard. Oh, kabhi, and you were seeing so much of
You're
death
almost
around.
there.
Yeah, and you were seeing so much of death around, and it still gets me goosebumps. But so I went in the night and I was just not able to sleep, and I was like, and then I don't know what happened, and I thought, okay, let's make a video of how do you check an SpO2 monitor in your house, you make sure how do you use it, what are the things you take care so that you get a right reading,
Right.
because that's the most important thing. I just made a minute and a half or 2-minute video, posted on my Instagram, which had like 1,000, 2,000 followers, and somehow went off to sleep. Next day morning, I went to work, and again, as I said, mobiles are outside, you're in your PPE kit, and by evening when I come out, I have 10,000 followers. So
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
what has happened? And suddenly that SpO2 video went crazy viral.
Amazing.
And then it was caught up by all the media channels, because it was something which was very basic but very essential, which no one had taught on social media,
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how my journey started. And then I realized, okay, maybe we can give more information here. So we started giving whenever I got the time. And it just kept on spreading. And then we started a helpline
Okay.
for only pregnant women, because I know I was just one person. I couldn't make a
Yeah.
general helpline. I got 3 or 4 of my friends who, one was in Chennai, one was in Mumbai, one was in Kolkata. I said, look guys, you all are free. You're not doing anything right now. Will you help me? They said, yes. So I said, I'm going to give you my password. I'm going to give you my Instagram account. Whoever messages medical queries, whoever is free, please answer. So 3 of us started doing that, and we started saying that, and then that spread like anything, that, if you're pregnant, this is a group who only deals with COVID pregnancies.
Oh my God.
So if you have any doubt, just message them. So we started getting calls, we started getting messages. So we used to get like 500, 600 messages in a day, and we were not able to answer. So Instagram realized that what is happening in this account, and they called me, and I didn't believe. My account had got hacked once. So when someone called me that we are from Instagram, I just didn't give, like I said, please, like I don't want to chat with you. I have nothing to do with social media. And then they emailed me, then they called me, they messaged me, and they said, look, you're getting so many messages. Why are you not replying? I said, I can't reply. I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm in the ICU or in my ward. I go home. I'm around 11:30 or 10 in the night. And whenever I can, I reply as much as I can. They said, no, tell us how we can help.
Wow.
So I said, I don't know how you can help.
Yeah.
So then there was a Sunday which was a little lighter for me. Then I got more of my friends. So वो 3-4 लोग जो हम थे, then I got 15 of my friends who were all sitting at home because they were IVF specialists, but all of them were doctors at the end of the day.
They at least had the answers to what the people
So I
were
gave
asking
my account passwords to all of them. I said, let's answer as much as possible. And then people started realizing, other doctors started messaging me that give me the account password if you're okay. I'll answer as much as possible. So then Instagram said, okay, tell us how I can help you. They said, you need to put 3 reels a day. I said, are you mad? I said, I don't know how to edit. That was just something that I did.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, do one thing every day. Take 40 minutes of your day. Whenever you get the time, just record something absolutely raw. Just send it to us on this drive. We will edit it. We will. और उस time पे वो captions और ये subtitles ऐसा automatic कुछ भी नहीं था.
Okay.
So you had to add it. Now it gets generated automatically.
Yeah.
That time it was not. So they used to add the subtitles. Sometimes they used to add subtitles in Hindi. And every day they used to send me कि आज की Google search COVID में ये 5 questions सबसे ज़्यादा people are searching. Answer them. And I used to try and answer. I used to send. तो वो लोग 24 hours में edit करके मुझे भेजते थे, and I used to just post. So it was very random. Then we got a SIM card. We got 10 SIM cards of same number.
Okay.
And again, we gave it to all the doctors. So then we started a helpline.
Right.
And that helpline, so whenever someone was in need, used to call that number. So all 10 phones used to ring. So whoever was free used to pick up and help the person. So that helpline number got caught by a lot of celebrities.
Okay.
And they started posting that, this is one number where a group of doctors are only talking to pregnant women. So if you're pregnant, if you have COVID, call this number and they'll help you out. They're all gynecologists, legit doctors. So that's how the social media journey started.
What a beautiful journey. What an
It was a बहुत ज़्यादा लंबा
insightful
story
one.
थी, but anyways.
No, but it required, the details was required to really understand that how one reel actually got you off to all that. And that was a very noble work.
Yeah.
It was just not out of any other intent in a way,
Yeah.
So
they gave me a lot of push. So of course Instagram had told me that, we are going to push your account. We're going
amazing.
to
I
work
didn't
with
know they
you.
do all that,
Yeah. So they told me, give us 5 more names because you are not able to do everything. We know that you are overburdened now. Because I remember I used to be awake, the whole team, 5-6 of us used to be awake till like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the night, had to go to 8 o'clock work and keep answering calls, messages. It was very traumatic also. I've seen people do video calls and show me that, okay, my mother's SpO2 has become 20. What do I do? And I can't do anything.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we stopped accepting video calls because it was very traumatic for us. So we said, please only message or do a voice call, because video call it was just, we were not in our mental state to see all that because वो कहीं भी random call आता था. But yeah, so then Instagram said, give me 5 more names of doctors who are ready to be on social media and can do what you're doing.
Right.
So then we became this 5-10 group of people, and we all started posting, and Instagram started promoting all these accounts because at that time it was the need of the hour.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's how actually the first bunch of social media influencers, so-called, started. So it was me, it was Dr. Cuterus, Tanaya, there was Priti Kamlani, there was even this girl called Trinetra,
Yes.
who's now
She's
become
now
an
actor,
actress. There was Ridhima, who now doesn't really very actively, but she was doing a great work. Then there was Zoya, and we've all become great friends, of course. But we were these initial people who started it.
That's so beautiful. And more power to you guys.
Thank you so much.
So, but then now once the COVID wave was over, and now that your hospital was also ready, back to your work.
Yeah.
How is the account doing?
So, what happens is I got validation.
Yes.
Though I was not a COVID specialist, I was not a pulmonologist, I was a gynecologist. But in that situation, when the country needed right medical information, they trusted us.
Right.
So when COVID died off, the trust would still remain.
Yeah.
Now they don't have COVID problems, but they were still going to have women problem. They were still going to they were still going to deliver babies. People were still going to become pregnant. People were still going to have gynec problems. So that legitimacy of my knowledge and my work ko validation mil gaya.
Right.
And then of course I started converting and doing things that is relevant to me. And then people still believed it. Because they knew that if he says something,
It's genuine.
It's right, he's not an influencer, he's just a doctor on social media, which I still am.
Yes.
Right? The account is doing okay. People have millions of followers. I don't have millions of followers, but I think that's what I said. I'm not an influencer, so I don't need millions of followers. So I do it for fun. I pivoted to my work, and my work becomes my content.
Superb. So then, how does that look like in the
So for
day-to-day
me,
case?
it's very easy,
Right.
right? Because I deliver babies.
Which is a big thing.
Correct.
The way you're saying. you're
I
giving
don't
the-
need to shake your emotion.
You're giving a smaller.
Correct.
picture.
If I'm delivering a baby, it is an emotion in itself. When I show the baby first time to the mother, it is an
It's a
emotion
lot
in
of
itself. And
emotions.
everyone can relate to it. When I bring the baby out to a family and a family enjoys, and you just record that, I don't need to act. I don't need to script anything.
natural.
So I just realized that we just need to capture these moments, which were never being captured.
Correct.
And being an infertility specialist, you imagine the amount of joy when someone after 20 years of struggle have had a child.
Agreed.
So again the same thing happened. One of those videos where I am showing a baby first time to the family, and they all get emotional and start crying, again went viral because it was something that the people had never seen
It was
on
very
social
natural.
media. And it was
I remember seeing that
completely
video.
it was
Yes.
shot from one of the cheapest broken mobile phone of my hospital, because I was not getting my mobile, and my sister, the nurse who was there, had some mobile in her hand and she just shot it. And imagine even posting, it was something like, उस दिन मुझे कुछ पोस्ट करना था, मेरे पास कुछ था ही नहीं पोस्ट करने के लिए, बिकॉज ना मैंने कुछ शूट किया था, ना मैंने कुछ बोला था, एंड आई फेल्ट आई वाज टू टायर्ड टू से समथिंग एंड रिकॉर्ड एंड पोस्ट. So I was just scrolling and I saw that there was this video where I'm giving the baby and the family is crazy emotional, the elder sister is crying like anything, and I just put it. Song भी ऐसे randomly जो भी मिला वो डाल दिया, and it got like 17-18 million views.
So knowingly or unknowingly, you are very Insta
I
friendly.
think unknowingly ही होता है. When you try to do it knowingly, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But I think it's like how we said, the right intent is
Correct.
what gets you there.
Correct.
So then, do you regularly also shoot? Like, do you have a team? How does it?
So West has this culture of birth shoots. We don't do it because I think we are shy, or we had never thought of it. So then I realized that it's a great thing. If I had a baby delivered, my child was being delivered, and if I could record those moments, it would be a moment for lifetime.
Yes.
So I started asking a few of my patients that, why don't we record and do a birth shoot? And I started showing what the West was recording. Of course, the West is very open. They don't care if the private parts are being shown. Or I said, we'll do it more aesthetically. We'll not show your vaginas, and we're not going to show your private parts and all that.
Yeah.
But it still can be done. And there were a lot of them who were like very excited to do it. And we started doing birth shoots, and we realized that it was amazing. I mean, we all, मतलब मैं भी जो, sometimes just ऐसे without thinking anything, you just go to the OT and just deliver. Now I had patients who were like, coming full makeup on because they know that they were going to be recorded. And you imagine, but secondarily, if you look undercurrent, imagine when a patient is coming to delivery, she's anxious, she's scared, that environment, she's so nervous, and the whole attention shifted to, okay, I want to look great, I want to feel great,
Yes.
someone is going to record. So that nervousness, anxiety, automatically 50% just went away.
Yes.
Because then your concentration was on how you're looking and how the whole thing is going to come up. The relatives were also like all dressed, and it became like a celebration from being like a disease,
Wow.
and that's how it started, and that became one of my contents, apart from, of course, the educational content which doctors do. It still do. So that's something I call Katha. I do a series called Katha series, which later on I gave a
Yes.
name. But that is something that is very close to my heart, and that is something that works amazingly well for me. And I don't have to shoot it. It's my work. I deliver
Yes.
babies every day. I only have to ask the patient, do you want to record it? In fact, now if I forget to record a patient, they're angry. They're like, you record everyone. Why have you not recorded me? Why have you not posted my reel, So a lot of time, I get these DMs saying that, why are you revealing the identity of this patient? And the patient might not be happy, but they don't realize that it's actually the opposite. No one is going to put a video if the patient is not comfortable, first of all,
Exactly.
right? We are going to take consent. And for me, it's really opposite. Like sometimes raat ko 3 baje, if I'm doing a cesarean section and I've forgotten to click a picture or do a video on it, and I have literally legit got complaints that why have you not recorded
you
us?
miss my
Why did you
moment?
miss my moment? Exactly.
Okay, that's lovely. So I think that's something very creatively the
Yeah,
way you're
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to
Yeah.
picturize it and
Yeah.
put it up.
And we never sell ourselves. I always tell this to patients. To everyone or a lot of doctors who ask me, there is no mantra, right? Something just works. But if you try, I have never in my video said that, okay, you need to come to me and we are this and Nimaya is this and Dr. Yuvraj does this and we are the best at this. I don't think that's required.
That's-
Your work will speak
it's
for
a
yourself.
byproduct.
Yeah,
They
I think
will
that
come
is
to you.
for me. If someone tries to sell me something, I will disengage. That's who I
Yes.
am. So I'm sure everyone is like that.
Agreed, agreed. And I think that helps. But so, do you think your social media presence in that terms, if we say, does that? I'm sure you would agree to it, but to what extent it helps you
The business.
in the business?
Oh, Lord. And people think business is just about number of patients, but it's so much more than that. It's how your name spreads, your fame, your credibility, the validation that you get as a doctor. So I one day randomly I decided I was going to Mumbai and Delhi for some work, both places, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go. मुझे सिर्फ 1 घंटे की meeting है. I have a meeting of 1 hour. What am I going to do the whole day? I have a friend. I said, let me put on social media, and I can see some patients there. And I had online consultations of those patients, and I said, okay, they're going to come and anyway show it to me. So I put it, I'm not kidding, I put it on Sunday morning, 11 o'clock. I put a post, a simple story saying that, I'm going to be in Delhi and I will be consulting patients. And if you want, just contact this number. And by 5 o'clock in the evening, we had booked 35 appointments. And we had to close the appointments.
Where do you get these ideas from?
And this would have not happened if it was not social media.
Yeah.
Like, who would 10, 20 years back in a no social media world, how would someone in Delhi know about a Dr. Yuvraj from Baroda?
Yeah,
It was not. So it definitely, last month, I have treated patients from over 20 countries. Literally 20 countries. Because ye NRI ki season hai in Gujarat. People come from all over the world. I've done IVFs for all of them. How is this being possible? You would reach that stage, but 20 years back, you would reach that stage after 25 years of practice.
true.
Because slowly your name would develop. Today, you can reach everyone. Like, I have a patient from Alaska.
Oh.
I have a patient from Iceland. Like,
not gonna
from the North Pole.
Correct.
I'm just waiting someone from Antarctica to show up now.
Brilliant. So I think it's like it's given you the visibility from
Yeah,
across,
yeah.
and I feel by the time they come, they sort of know you. See, they have seen you.
100%.
They have seen you through so many reels. So that work is already done of building the credibility with your patient.
You've said it very right. There is no ice breaking required.
Exactly.
It feels they know me. It
Yeah.
feels they know how I'm going to talk. They are comfortable with me. So that I have seen. because they've seen me work, they've seen me talk.
Yes.
तो discomfort नहीं है.
They sort of already know you.
Yeah.
So there's no convincing now. It's just like you do this, do
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Superb. So, but then is there any other, the flip side of it somewhere, like, you know, where you may have received any heat, um, you know, there are
Yeah.
senior doctors also who may have other.
That's the only heat that you receive. Or will be very initially.
Okay.
So, you know, that's what I last interview I was giving, I just told someone, and I was scared ki nazar na lag jaye, kind of. But I was like, you know, I've never had too much of trolling or anything. Because क्या ही troll कर लेंगे यार मुझे? You know, I'm talking about health, one. I'm talking about babies and deliveries. What trolling will you do?
There's no one else you're
हाँ,
bringing into the
and again,
picture.
very legit followers. कोई क्यों delivery देखने time pass के लिए आएगा? Legit people are going to follow me.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm not going to reach 20 million one day. I'm not going to be a Taylor Swift. But this is who is my target. So, but I used to get a lot of heat initially from the senior doctors, definitely, because these patients. So I was one of the very few doctors in this area, and of course in Gujarat, who used to allow husbands in delivery room.
Ah.
In fact, it's compulsory. If you
Like
you
the
want your
West.
wife to deliver, if the husband is a faint-hearted person and he faints in the room, then a relative, the mother or the mother-in-law, is usually asked. But I usually ask a patient's relative to be, and only husband.
That's very uncommon here, though. I mean, I think it's known in the West.
Shouldn't be, but it was.
Yeah, okay.
So there was this very senior doctor from Ahmedabad, and when one of my patients who conceived through IVF with me, तो मायके में delivery होती है, they went to Ahmedabad, and she said, you know, okay, I'm going to have my husband in the room, and he said, we don't allow any relatives in the room. He said, why? Dr. Yuvraj allows. And that doctor called me and fired me. I said, he's like, what are you doing? And all this, ये सब नाटक नहीं, कि बहुत लंबा time नहीं चलेगा. I know him very well, and of course he took, because he knew me as a friend. He was angry that day, but he had the right, not the right, but he was frank enough to tell me because we had that relationship. But I said, sir, you don't allow. Of course, she came back and she delivered in Baroda.
Oops.
But yeah, so these kind of things used to happen when we used to do a little bit of fun reels. They used to say, "Ki abhi doctors naach gana karne lage hain," and all that. And now everyone is doing it.
Now everyone's, yeah.
Everyone is
I
doing
think you
it.
guys were the trendsetters, so.
In fact, I would say we still do it very conservatively. Abhi to kuch aur hi chalta.
Oh, it's a different league now. It's a different
Yeah.
league. But I think the trendsetters are there, so you have
So
an
there
onus
was that
to-
backlash who came. A lot of senior doctors complained also. You know that,
To
oh,
the-
how are they showing this thing? Ye graphic content hai. I had a complaint file in Delhi also, that, you know, how is he coming to Delhi and practicing? Does he have a license? And of course I have a license. Of course I'm going to take care of the legalities. I had a consumer protection lawyer send me a notice saying that, okay, you've claimed these things. We want to prove that it's true. It was true. I have a very, very simple logic. I have enough work, God bless, and I don't need to lie on social media. So I'm not scared. So these things have happened, but if it has never affected me, I had to just answer them. Sometimes I don't even answer them because I know they're all मतलब
As long
फालतू का
as,
ही है. Yeah.
you're right, then take it on your stride and just.
So you have to be careful, and especially in today's world when social media is a thing.
Yes.
हमने शुरू किया था तब it was not a thing. Like people used to think it is a privilege, but now it's not.
Yeah.
So now you have to be careful what you're saying. You can't say wrong things. You can't give illegit information. You have to be very respectful of the words that you're using,
Correct.
because your cancel culture, trolling and all is going to be, and it will affect your practice. You can't say that you're above all this.
Yes. You're human.
100%. And patients are very woke now.
Yes.
You know, if you don't talk to them well, if you have, लोगों को bad review लिखने में 2 seconds लगते हैं,
Agreed.
right? But अच्छा review 10 बार बोलो तो भी नहीं
तो भी
लिखेंगे.
नहीं लिखते हैं.
And not that all reviews matter, but it sometimes someone can just catch a fire. I know of doctors, very close friends of mine, I don't want to name them, who have had to leave Twitter and Instagram because of some very fun tweet that they had done years back which got caught, and they were just cancelled and trolled and harassed. So it's a reality. Itna bhi all, you know, rose glasses nahi hai social media. I mean, you have to be careful for sure.
Yes. Good. So, but I think you've learnt it in your way, and you've been conservative and very
Yeah,
thoughtful of
yeah,
what you're putting up.
yeah.
So
Very thoughtful.
that sort of makes sense, and I
Yeah.
think that's something which is a good takeaway for anyone who's trying to establish their
100%.
social
The
media
only
presence.
takeaway is don't fall into the trap of getting viral, because then you will make a mistake.
Yes. Then you try to get whatever is viral you
Yeah,
want to pick on
yeah,
it and
yeah.
do it. Brilliant. Superb. That's a lovely know-how, insight on what we
Correct.
wanted. Moving forward, I think other thing I wanted to understand was, now that you're established, now you are like, how the social media also help you establish in Vadodara. What is the next thing you're bringing in? What's the next catch in your field?
So luckily, as far as my personal journey is concerned, we started Ahmedabad, which I said, उल्टा होता है, लोग
बड़े से
बड़े शहर
छोटे
में
में।
जाके फिर छोटे सेंटर्स में सेंटर्स डालते हैं. But I think it worked for me within a year, which very rarely happens. Baroda was going great, and we decided that okay, we have so many patients coming from Ahmedabad. We have so many patients. The only problem with Baroda was connectivity, because I used to have a lot of patients from Jodhpur, from Ludhiana, from Kolkata, and airports in
Flights.
Baroda. The flights were not there, so we realized probably having a center in Ahmedabad would help us, and it did, because we knew we were consulting these patients online who were ready to come, but said that there is just no connectivity. So Ahmedabad we started, so that was our next step. We'll be doing few more centers. We are already doing Anand and Bharuch, and few other interesting things coming up. Hopefully when it's
Wonderful.
time to say.
Lovely. We hope you spread across India and across the globe
Thank you,
very
thank you
soon,
so
just like
much.
how your presence is there. Your center
Same
should be
for
all
the
around.
for Medtongs.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It was lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you so
And
much.
wish you all the luck.
Thank you. Pleasure
Thank
being
you.
here, Roma.
Thank you.